Hello and welcome to Noni, your morning chat show that brings you the topics we're all talking about. Today, cultural appropriation. Is it ever okay? And with the rise of women entrepreneurs, do you think you may have what it takes to be your own boss? We'll be hearing what you think with your comments and views. Now, joining me on today's show, political broadcaster and journalist Priscilla Nwikpo. Afro Hair and Beauty's head fashion curator, Agnes Cazin, and TV and radio presenter, Tomi Badejoko. Now, all over the UK, but here in London especially, you can see people wearing, eating or listening to things that may not necessarily be associated with their race. Most people would agree it's fine to show appreciation of another culture. But is it still okay when the borrowers are from the so-called dominant race? Now, Kylie Jenner graced the front cover of a magazine with dreadlocks and was hailed as edgy and raw. But when young actress Zendaya wore the same hairstyle to the Oscars in 2015, she received harsh criticism. Celebrities from Elvis to Katy Perry have all been accused of cultural appropriation. So are they ignoring our history or celebrating it? Tommy, what do you think about that?
Okay, I think they're celebrating it. Because, you know, when you think about cultural appropriation, in a way, yes, people might say, oh, no, maybe the dreadlock thing, oh, no, it's a reggae thing, oh, it's raga, oh, this is African, oh, the whole cornrow thing. But yes, I think Africans now, let me speak for ourselves, we were at a stage where we're trying to bring ourselves out, like, okay, no, us, accept our fashion, accept our culture. I think that's so played out right now. We're out there, especially in the fashion, in the music, especially the music industry. So you have people like Wizkid and Davido trying to have a collaboration with top American singers. And to me, I think it makes them value our culture.
It's embracing the culture, right?
Yeah,
okay.
And it's encouraging globalization. So it's either on how you look at it, but I think it's more like giving us more, you know, we're not limited to the whole Africa again, you know, our fashion is now global, you know, our music is now global, our movie is now global. So in a way, it's okay to take a beat from everybody.
Okay, Tommy's not offended, Priscilla. Who is offended then?
I think a lot of people are offended because this whole cultural appropriation conversation issues just stems from the usual narrative. Now, what we fail to look at when we see these things, people are only offended because of what is said. And it is not said by those who wear it to begin with. It's not said by Kylie Jenner. It's not said by, any of the celebrities that are wearing, their hairstyle or their clothes that is of African origin, for instance. They would be thinking that they are simply just celebrating a culture. But it's the writers. It's the PR machines that have, done the narrative all of these years, which is to say...
Are they ignoring? Are they ignoring the originality?
Well, they're not ignoring. They're just doing what they've always done, which is just, to be fair, somewhat rude, which is to say black is terrible, black is awful, black is poverty, black is no good. So, we can't give the correct, appropriate credence to who it is due. We would rather say, oh yes, it looks great when Kylie does it, but then
so they are ignoring. They are ignoring the originality.
They are being rude because when Kylie does it, it's great. When Zendaya does it, it's terrible. It's awful.
Okay, let me bring you in, Agnes. You're a fashion curator, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of this. You're surrounded by ladies wearing Ankara. So, have you seen within the industry, people adopting this, but not crediting the originality?
My position with cultural appropriation coming from the fashion industry and coming also from the art world, where we see a lot of cultural appropriation. First of all, what is cultural appropriation? I think for me, the way I view cultural appropriation is where there is two laws for the same thing. Like you said, Kylie wears plaid, it's fantastic. When a black person would do it, then immediately on that person, it's like, it's terrible, it scares them, and then it's not appropriate anymore. So it's like, I think like the minute our culture is being worn as a toy, it's great, it's cute, it makes some sound, but lose the meaning, then it is appropriate.
And see, that's a really good analysis there. Tomi, a lot of people have been saying, you know, if you look at the Native American culture, for example, if you look at American festivals, there were times that they were wearing lots of the hats and the traditional Native American wares, and they're very sacred. So, you know, there's one thing talking about Ankara and seeing it on the high store, but what about when you're wearing a sacred item that is only usually given in a tribe if, you know, you've been promoted into a hierarchy, but then people are wearing it drunk at a festival? Could people take offense to that?
Yes,
do you understand
people,
that offense?
Yeah, I understand that. People can definitely take offense to that, especially when it's not one the right way or is one for something very negative. You know, but I haven't said that, you know. Talking about, I feel, let's talk about Ankara now, and let's talk about the Stella McCartney, the
that was
famous
a big item.
Stella McCartney Ankara dress. I personally walked into Selfridges because I was really, really
you
anxious.
had the money to spend, right?
I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it, but that's why I love the stores. You can go in and try and say, you know what, this is not good for me. Obviously, you're not going to buy it. So I walked in. I was just curious, like, this is an Ankara fabric. It's just a plain dress. Nothing, like the one I'm wearing has got stones, beads, nothing. It's just the fabric itself. And it was retailing for £750, and I'm like, wow, that's gonna buy like maybe 10 of this or more than 10.
So was it the price that offended you, or the quality of the fabric?
Price and not even the finishing. So the price, because now, like Priscilla said, we are wearing Ankara now. Obviously, it's not that price, but because it's Stella McCartney, and she's now designing Ankara, all of a sudden it's turned to luxury.
The dress that she copied is actually a traditional dress that every mums wear in their house when they're cooking. There is no creation. There wasn't a Stella McCartney staple on it. There wasn't a Stella McCartney take on it.
Well, it had a label on it. Is that not just a Stella McCartney thing?
And that was that, oh yeah, Bintu, bring this over here. Yeah, let's do this. And then we'll put them into my show. And then when it comes into my runaway, then it becomes something extraordinary. But when the women in the street of Paris are wearing them with their children in the back, they get the bad look. And that's the cultural appropriation.
The problem wasn't the fact that she did it. It wasn't that for me. It wasn't the price. It's to be given so much credence. To be given so much attention.
Some people would argue, Priscilla, that it was the black community that gave it the credence. But we will continue this discussion more. Coming up, we will be speaking about cultural appropriation and the rise of women entrepreneurs. We'll be hearing your stories and experiences. More after the break. Welcome back to Noni. Still to come on today's show, women entrepreneurs. Are they finally making an impact? But first, we return to the subject of cultural appropriation. Priscilla, let me start with you. I expressed, you know, the Native American and the fact that, you know, they're sacred. We're not talking about a design that somebody wears in a kitchen. We're talking about a sacred item that's only used to, you know, to make somebody a hierarchy in society. We don't really see them, you know, going all out and exposing people on social media. Is this just a problem within the black community? Are we too easily offended?
No, we're not too easily offended. We've been offended all our lives, as it were. But I think, you know, if they were if the writers would just say something like, it is inspired by African culture.
Is that never said? Surely it must be said.
No. All we hear is that it's a great design, it's wonderful, she's done. No. All you have to do is just acknowledge where it comes from. People will not be angry. People will even go out and buy it.
Let's talk about the dreadlocks then. You don't need you know, somebody at the back of Vogue to say these dreadlocks are inspired by Caribbeans. If you see dreadlocks, you know where that comes from. Why does, when it's obvious, does the credit need to be given, Agnes?
I think yes, and you know, they would claim if it was their culture. I mean, do you think that you can go to the Louvre and do whatever you want with the Louvre? You'd be shut down, running down the street, taking what they are doing.
So how do you personally feel if you see somebody, a white lady, with dreadlocks?
Well, I don't really care. I don't really care. It's like, I don't really like it personally. I don't think it suits them very well. I don't think it's because it just doesn't.
It's not authentic.
It's not authentic, but I think I wouldn't put that very much as culture appropriation, constantly all the time. I think there is bigger things about cultural appropriation. There's more recent problem like La Duma in South Africa at the moment. I think that's incredible. Like people have no shame. Like he had a collection. He's a Xhosa, the same tribe as Nelson Mandela, and he's made this collection of socks, and these huge brands ripped it off, took the same socks. Allegedly ripped it off, yeah. Took the same socks and did the same and put their label on it. No difference.
Agnes, there's so much context to what you're saying, and we're going to invite you on to talk about this more, but I've got to quickly ask, what about this wig? This is a wig, everyone, because just in case you didn't know.
I was just about to say
Is that going to offend the English?
Exactly. So now, I understand Priscilla and Agnes saying, yeah, they want the credit and everything, but at the same time, I'm just looking at the other part of it, because at the same time, we do white weddings. Like, we're Africans, we do the proper white wedding, and the white wedding...
Wasn't marriage given by God?
I know.
Does the white wedding belong to the...
What I'm trying to say is that we wear the dress and the proper black tie.
The due credit is given to that, though.
No, how? Because...
No, because we do say it. We would say it amongst ourselves.
We just say it's the white wedding.
Do the Yoruba wedding.
Yeah, but
we'll say it.
But the Stella
so
McCartney dress says that it's an
completely.
African print Stella McCartney dress. Do you understand? So, like, there's some things you see and you just know is that even if Stella McCartney owns that dress, we know that it's an African print.
Yes.
Like the dreads do. Even if she's claiming that it was inspired, definitely we know it's from somewhere. So let's just look at the other part of it that we do. Like, you're talking about the wig now. This hairstyle is strictly like...
I don't have... Listen, as I've said before, when it comes to cultural appropriation, we're all doing it.
Yeah.
You know, we're all doing it. I have no issues with it.
Yeah.
Agnes isn't doing it.
Agnes has never needed to do it.
But where I think the issues and where it causes offence is like when we had that young boy, the issue with the young boy, for instance, with his dreadlocks going to school. And he was...
Yes, that was a very famous case, isn't it? It was all over YouTube.
Yeah.
It went viral. And they were trying to cut off his dreads.
They're telling him he must cut his hair, and that it's not appropriate, and that it's offensive. That's where the offence comes in. I think most of us, as I've said, are fine, easygoing. It's not an issue. We will celebrate it with you. At the end of the day, we all live in the United Kingdom at present, or in Europe, and we are all, one way or another, enjoying the European culture.
Yes, I agree.
So we're doing it. It's not a problem with that. But what we're not trying to do is to say, well, it's now my culture. It's saying it's my culture. I would, we're not trying to delete the European aspect of it and saying it doesn't exist.
But isn't the thing, though, Priscilla, and Agnes, come in on this.
I want to jump on it.
Jump in on it. Is it not... If you're a dominant culture, and the white race is, we can't deny that,
Dominant in the UK.
Dominant in the West. Dominant in the West.
Not dominant in Africa.
They're a dominant culture, Priscilla. You know that. Come on, we can all agree on that.
This is why you have the white wedding.
Yes, if you're a dominant culture,
you need to go back.
Agnes,
Is
it easy not to be offended? It's when you're a minority culture within the society you're living that it's easy for you to be offended because you're like, hang on, that's mine.
I think if you are the dominant culture, it's easier to say, we're going to rewrite the rules.
That's it.
From today, no offense on this, no offense on that. What do you mean you're offended? Oh, no. Because there's a new law. You can't.
And if you voice it, you've got a chip on your shoulder.
And also, I think to voice it on our part for so many years, centuries, generation, where our parents and grandparents, because this cultural appropriation goes far more, more behind. And now we are allowed to say, actually, I know you thought that was a toy, but I actually care. And I'm asking you to stop doing this. And the offense came when they say, oh, don't worry, I don't believe in that. But we do, and we want you to stop. And when they don't stop, then the offense comes in.
Wow, I think that's a good way to end it. Priscilla, tell me yes or no. Do you cringe when you see a white lady with dreadlocks? Honestly?
No, I don't. Only if I come close and it smells. No, it's true. That's the only time I have an issue. But if she's wearing it well and she looks great, I think fabulous. I'll even tell her.
Tomi, we see a lot of white ladies wearing wigs now. We can't say wigs is a black thing. But what about when you see white ladies with blonde, long extensions? Do you cringe?
White or black?
A white lady with long blonde extensions.
No, I wouldn't cringe. Number one, they are the blondes anyway. And some Africans or some other culture trying to actually have that wig too in blonde. So why not? I'm just on a lighter note on this. I always just look at other like, we all do it either ways. We all do it.
We all adopt.
We all adopt. So, if everyone starts to claim ownership, that it's going to be a war in the world, because we all pick a bit how many credits do you want to give? Do you understand? How many people do you want to say this? Because we do it, like I said, we wear the wedding dresses. We'll do our traditional wedding. We do the white wedding. The white people might not know that we do that.
I think we've all kind of got slightly different views, but I must say, Priscilla, you know, saying credits given where credits due, I think that's a nice way to end this topic, ladies.
Yeah. True.
Now, the world of business is still very male-dominated, but self-employment is on the rise with women, apparently responsible for much of the new growth. A study by the Royal Bank of Scotland showed that women now account for 17% of business owners. So could you be your own boss? After all, it's said that there is business potential in everybody. Can everybody do it, Priscilla? And what is it about a woman, a black woman, and a side hustle?
Well, you know, it's just something, there's just something in us. I think that most people can do it. I don't think everybody can do it. And I think women get into the entrepreneurship for different reasons. You know, some people, they from inception, as it were, as they grow, it's like, I want to own my own business. They have that dream, they have that desire, they want to create something. And it's fantastic. Others, you know, go into their business after they've had children, and they're doing that so that they're able to have a sufficient time with their children, meet the needs at home, as well as earn some money. And I also think that it's great when you own your own business, the confidence that it gives you, and you know, because as women, there are so many sides to us, and we can get lost in being the wife or the mother or being both and all of that.
Can I get a hey, ladies?
You know, we have those times when the babies come along and our language changes and our minds somewhat disappear in that language.
Yes, I think it's called baby brain, Priscilla.
Yeah.
Let me bring Agnes in on this. Agnes, you know, women of colour in particular say they struggle to get loans. You know, they're struggling to, you know, be established as business brands, but they're still doing it, aren't they?
They're still doing it because I think it's in their blood as well. We've got this fiery thing. I mean, as I've curated Afro and Beauty Live, the fashion section, yeah, and I see all those women. They have a job, they have this side also, which is the fashion, which also is a passion, and they manage it like a proper business.
With families.
With families, with children, and I think that let's give them some times, and times will tell us, because I think from those initial kitchen sink business, we're going to see some great brands coming up. Why? Because we've got the digital. So you have a lot of things that in the past, in the 80s, in the 90s, you had to go through like the white people network in terms of distribution, in terms of selling, in terms of department store, but with the internet and with our community being absolutely global, we don't need this anymore. So I feel that the women have a lot of chance to expand.
Yes, Tomi, you're a successful lady, and you know, you're very social. I'm sure you know a lot of successful women who are doing both. You know, keeping up the family appearances and still bringing in the coins.
Yeah. So in terms of women entrepreneurship, I think, like Priscilla said, obviously a lot of people some people are just born entrepreneurs. I think so. Like, they are just doing it because they just want to make a difference.
It's in their blood.
Something is in their blood. The boss ladies, they call them anyway. So, but some people obviously, as a result of changes, obviously maybe you're married, you're a mom, you want like flexibility in your life. It's just so hard for you to do a 9 to 5. Thinking about it, I wrote a petition to the Parliament 2 years ago. So we did, because we did a program and we're talking about women and childcare and how hard it is on women. And I think it came out on the dailies one time. So we decided to talk about it on the show. And I decided to take it upon myself and write a petition because obviously I know that women spend at least £1,000.
At least.
That is if you want to do like proper childcare.
And then there's the emotional baggage that comes with it.
And if you want to even get a living nanny, all of them are like 600, 700, but the standard one is like £1,000. And depending on your area, you might even do 1,002. And you're thinking, okay, just imagine someone that's just a customer care assistant or just, normal admin.
You can't afford it.
You can't afford it. And she has kids, obviously, and she has bills to pay. So we decided to write something to the Parliament, a petition, to say, can they obviously look into flexible work schemes for mom? I got a lot of moms.
Did you get some response back from the Parliament?
Definitely. So I got a lot of moms. Obviously, you get a lot of people to sign. You need a particular number. We did because women jump at things like that. And later on, they rejected it because they said they think it's already in place.
But at least you made the first step, Tomi. Let me ask you all quickly. Priscilla, I consider you, you're very, very busy. Obviously, all our viewers will know you. Are you a businesswoman? And if you're not, what kind of business do you see yourself doing?
Oh, God.
Only give us one or two. I know you have like 20 businesses.
I don't know about 20 businesses, but there's always something going on in my head. But just very quickly, yes, I do consider myself as a businesswoman. And recently I was having a conversation at number 10, actually. We were actually discussing solutions for women. You made mention there about, the not being able to have access to loans. Yes. And we discussed, all of those and the issues and why. Because this government
Are they taking it into account then? The government do realise that black women of colour, are struggling to get bank loans?
They do realise that there are issues. It goes back to, unfortunately, we don't want to accept it, but it goes back to the narrative. And what transpired in that conversation, in that meeting, where there was a team of women sitting down and having conversations with SA to the PA, PA to SA to the Prime Minister, was it became clear that yes, you say the measures are in place, but these women cannot access them. Yes. The help is there, but they can't reach it. And what is preventing it? The usual, it's the narrative. It's that unfortunate narrative. Yeah. But what is interesting, I must say, NatWest Bank, for instance, have recognized this, and they are actually, on a mission, as it were, to attract as many. Believe it or not, it's like 300 billion spending power for people of African descent.
Look at us, come on. It costs money to look. It's good. And Priscilla, I wish we could talk more. We are going to talk about this in another show because there are so many issues that we need to touch on. Sure. Well, that's it from me, Juliana Olayinka, and my co-host for the morning, Priscilla Nwikpo, Tomi Badejoko, and Agnes Cazin. Don't forget, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Join me next time for more Noni Chat. Goodbye.